Cobra Kai, Season 4, Episode 1, entitled, Let's Begin. The episode opens, we see somebody playing the piano, and the piece that they're playing is La Campanella by Franz Liszt. I'll talk about that more in a minute. The camera pans in and we see a phone ring, and it's John Kreese calling. And the person playing the piano answers the phone. He hears John Kreese's voice, hangs up, and the episode begins. Johnny and Daniel begin their joint dojo venture, trying to both lead all the students. It doesn't go very well. It has a hard time getting started. They keep trying. They don't get discouraged too fast. And then there is a very nice montage to Judas Priest's Another Thing Coming. But it does end with Hawk putting his foot through the dojo wall. So we see Johnny cook dinner for Carmen, Miguel, and Carmen's mother. And he wanted to make authentic food like the old country. So he got a recipe off the Chili's website. And he has a big gallon jug of the mango salsa. And Carmen's mother in Spanish says, "But we're Ecuadorian, we're not Mexican." But everybody is having a pretty good time. And they enjoy the fact that Johnny's trying. Until Miguel starts telling everybody about Johnny's date with Allie from last season. And this doesn't sit very well with Carmen, who kind of understands who Johnny is and does tell him as they're cleaning up that she wants to take things slow. At Daniel's house, we see Daniel struggling with their security system. We see he sit down with for a glass of wine with his wife, and she says she feels like a prisoner in her own house, that she doesn't know why the Cobra Kais aren't in jail. She has no sympathy for Tori. And we cut to the next day, and Johnny and Daniel decide to split, and Johnny will take the Eagle Fang students out front, and Daniel will teach the Miyagi-Do students in back. And they begin to try and train, and while Daniel is trying to teach calm, still, karate, Johnny is using profanity and yelling and disrupting Daniel all day until they have another discussion. When Johnny gets his students out front, he decides they're going to practice their front leg sweep, and he calls Hawk forward and demonstrates a front leg sweep, dropping Hawk to the ground. And everyone is going to practice their front leg sweeps on Hawk. Johnny's decided Hawk needs a little lesson. Sensei Kreese goes to somebody's house. And we soon see that it is, in fact, the home of Terry Silver. Terry Silver being the other Cobra Kai. We meet Terry Silver's current lady friend, who says that she and Terrence are just enjoying the journey. They're not married. The conversation at the party reveals that nobody knew that Terry was a karate guy or that he was in the military. And you can see Kreese, needling Terry. And then when Terry's girlfriend can't remember the name of the club that he used to practice karate with, was it Viper something?
What was it called again? The Vipers? Cobra Kai.
So we can see that Sensei Kreese is getting to Terry a little bit. When the two of them get to talk a little later, Terry says, I'm not interested. When you disappeared, it was the best thing that happened to me. I have my thing together. John Kreese reminds him of what it was like coming home from Vietnam, how awful they had it, and that Kreese had saved Terry's life. And it all does seem to begin to work on Terry, but Kreese leaves. Daniel shows up at Johnny's house to talk about how they're going to teach. And they have a beer together. And as they're trying to decide, they actually decide that they can't teach together. And that they will tell the students tomorrow that the dojo is going to break up. We do see Samantha in her car talking to Miguel on the phone, her boyfriend. And when she's done speaking to Miguel, we find out where she is, and she gets out of her car to go speak to Robby, her ex-boyfriend. And she seems to be trying to patch things up with Robby. And Robby, for the first time in this series, looks at Samantha, and he's the first person to ever say, you're not going to get what you want. And that strikes Sam because she really has never heard that before. And then we see Robby in his gi going to lead the Cobra Kais when they walk in. And they don't want him there. And he says, well, if one of you can land a hit on me, I'll leave. And the fight begins with all of the Cobra Kais trying to hit Robby, and he manages to subdue all of them, and then it's Tori's turn, and they have a fight. He just about wins, and when he thinks he has won, she kicks him in the face, and he says a deal's a deal, and he goes to leave. He starts to leave, and Tori says, no, stay. So this is the first time we've seen Tori have a little sympathy for anybody, or empathy for anybody. And I think that might be important. We see Daniel and Johnny show up to tell the students that they're going to break up the dojo, to hear commotion at the dojo. And they run around back, and they see Hawk sledgehammering a fence. And Daniel confronts him, what are you doing? And all of the students are there, and they revealed that they decided to expand the dojo to include an area that Mr. Miyagi used for storage so that they could build an Okinawan sparring deck. So here we have all of the students working together for a common goal, mostly because their senseis weren't there. And so the senseis, Johnny and Daniel, decide to continue to try to work together since the students are doing it on their own anyway. We now see Terry Silver go down to his wine cellar to get a bottle of wine, and he looks and sees a bottle sitting up on its own, and he does a roundhouse kick and shatters it against the wall. And we see his face, and we certainly see the beginnings of the Cobra Kai coming back to Terry Silver. And that's where the episode ends. This is also the first episode to air since the passing of the great Ed Asner. And so they did put up a nice memorial at the end of the episode. He played Johnny's stepdad for 3 episodes. So this episode did teach us a lot to set up the rest of the season. We have Robby back in with the Cobra Kai. We have Tori showing sympathy. We have Amanda LaRusso, Daniel's wife, showing no sympathy. She's becoming harder. Tori's becoming softer. We see that Johnny cares enough about Carmen to cook and do dishes. When we saw that Robby has had enough of Samantha, so we won't continue to have that love triangle continuing. So we learned all that. But another thing that we learned, and I think the most important thing we learned, is almost an Easter egg. The piece that's being played on the piano at the beginning of the episode, La Campanella by Franz Liszt, is considered one of the hardest pieces ever written for the piano. Without getting too technical, the tempo of the song and the distance the hands have to move to play it correctly is very technically difficult to do. Meaning, and the person we saw playing, we learned later in the episode, was Terry Silver. So now we know that Terry Silver has the ability to learn difficult things. The fact that he was playing that song means he took the time to learn it, even though it was difficult. Fun fact, the actor playing Terry Silver actually played the song on the piano. So that tells us something about Thomas Ian Griffith, the actor that plays Terry. And I thought that was interesting that they worked that in. Anyway, my take on this is that it's a great first episode for season 4. It sets up enough of a story to continue us through a season, I believe. Let me know what you think in the comments of what happened in this episode and what you think of the story so far. All right? So that was Cobra Kai Season 4, Episode 1. This is Sean's take, and that's a wrap.